Here.
Curran,
Here.
Freeling,
Present.
Harrison,
Here.
Hinkleman,
Here.
Majerick.
Here.
Ott,
Here.
Pittsford.
Here.
Borath.
Here.
Warfel. Yarborough.
Present.
Elliott.
Here.
11 present, 1 absent.
Minutes from last week need to be approved. Is there a motion moved by Pittsford? Is there support?
Support.
Support by Freeling. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. We have some requisitions with, as I understand it, a modification or two to the list.
Correct. So there's been some inquiries about the brake repair to a trailer for the drains office. And I understand that we want to pull that. I guess my question is, are we going to, do you want me to just remove it and we're going to have a new rec list for 10:30? Are we waiting until it gets closer to 10:30 to have those conversations? I guess that's what I don't know.
Terry,
Mr. Chair, I would like for us to pull it for this week's rec and get more answers from the drain office on the expenses, and just have his staff have a chance to kind of review it.
okay.
Thank you.
Everybody all right with that?
Okay, so with that, I'll have to retype this, redo the list. And so I'll bring it back at 10:30 and just pass it around with that item removed. Were there questions about any of the other items on the rec list? Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Dan, you want to take over, fill us in on the master plan?
Well, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. This is the first time I've been down here since the commission was sworn in. To the new commissioners, I'm Dan Fetty. I'm the Director of Community Development. And one of the responsibilities of our department is to provide administrative staff assistance. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you. One of the responsibilities of our department is to provide administrative staff assistance to the county's planning commission. The County Planning Commission is principally charged with drafting every 5 years or so a master plan for Berrien County that then is presented to the commissioners for review and approval. So I am here today to talk about the master plan process. Beginning in 2020, right around the time that COVID hit, we started working on a new master plan update for the county. That was delayed, obviously, because like everything else in 2020 was delayed. But for the last 16 months or so, we've been patiently working through this with the Planning Commission. And we have the plan drafted. It was presented, I believe, in October. You passed a resolution authorizing us to circulate that master plan to members of the community to ask for public comments. That public comment period is now closed and we're ready to move forward with adoption. Next Thursday, I'll be at the Finance Committee with a resolution to adopt this plan. So I thought it probably is an opportune time to kind of go through this a little bit, explain the process, what a master plan is, what this master plan contains. I'm not going to go through all 88 pages of it. I'm just going to try to hit the broad strokes for you. You're welcome to read it. I hope you maybe have already. And then I'll talk a little bit about the procedures used to approve the plan.
That should work.
And it does work. Perfect. All right. So the Planning Enabling Act is the statute that creates the County Planning Commission, and then it empowers the Planning Commission to prepare a master plan, as I said, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. The Planning Commission, by the way, for those who are unfamiliar with it, is a citizen representative body that provides advice to the county board on matters related to land use and other planning activities. It's comprised of one county commissioner, and the remaining members are just representatives of different areas in our community: industry, education, agriculture, and so forth. So Planning and Enabling Act tells the Planning Commission to prepare this plan, make careful and comprehensive surveys and studies of all present conditions and future growth within the jurisdiction of the county. With regard to our relations to our neighboring jurisdictions, both our counties here in Michigan and the northern counties in Indiana as well. Consult with representatives of adjacent local units of government in respect to their own planning activities and make sure that we are not in conflict with anyone, and to cooperate with all departments of state and federal government and public agencies concerned with programs for economic, social, and physical development within the planning jurisdiction. Current plan was adopted in 2015. That was essentially a rewrite of a plan that was fully written in 2009, if I recall. So this is the first real major revision since 2009. In April 21, this board authorized our department and the Planning Commission to solicit a consultant to help us with this adoption of, or creation of a new master plan, again, because it was going to be a complete rewrite. Williams and Works was selected as the consultant, a very reputable planning firm here in Michigan. And they divided this process into 4 phases: a kickoff, a data development and analysis phase, the draft phase of the plan, and then obviously the review and adoption phase, which is where we are now. The kickoff happened shortly after, I think it was probably in August of 2021, I believe, is when we started our community meetings. Those meetings and the data analysis kind of dovetailed together, and it involved basically a data gathering exercise looking at various statistical information available for Berrien County related to housing, recreation, trails, natural environment, traffic patterns, utilities, and economic development over the last 10 years. We reviewed all the municipal master plans looking for common themes, common elements and trends of concern, and then engaged in an online survey with the community, and also held a number of workshops with local community leaders, elected and appointed officials in a variety of different localities throughout the county. The survey results are just, these, I just pulled a couple examples out. You can read the whole survey in the master plan, but we had a pretty even distribution of respondents to the survey. Not a lot of 18 or 25-year-olds, not that many 26, 35-year-olds, not surprising there, but the majority of the people that responded were over 36 years old, which is kind of what you see in these surveys anyway, but it was a pretty good response rate. We asked them questions like, what do you think is the most important quality of life, or most important to the quality of life of Berrien County? And you see affordable housing, security and safety, job opportunities. Obviously, a lot of this makes perfect sense. We also asked them, you know, in relation to, say, questions about housing, which is on everyone's mind right now. What kind of housing should be encouraged? You see, you know, the majority are looking for, you know, single family houses, multifamily condos and apartments, and so on and so forth. This is just an effort, again, to try to gauge what the community's sentiment and feeling is. Things like what businesses do you think would enhance our economic development? This one was a little surprising. Restaurants came in a whopping #1. Manufacturing was down at only 24%. Now, again, this isn't the staff's attitude. This is what the community is telling us, and you might differ with these suggestions, but this was the feeling of the survey respondents. From that, the draft plan was then, we started putting this together, and it pulled information identified from these community surveys, the information we got from the review of local master plans, input from the local government leadership meetings that we held, and numerous discussions with the Planning Commission itself to try to create some goals and objectives relating to 4 kind of essential components of the Berrien County community, and then provide strategies to implement those goals and objectives. Those components were housing, economic development, natural features and land use, and community facilities, transportation, and infrastructure. I will tell you, in all county master plans that you see, you're going to see basically these 4 elements or components. They're very common throughout most counties. Housing isn't always included as an element, but because of the pressures that many communities are feeling right now with the lack of affordable housing, you're seeing more and more of this as a specific element within county master plans. So we weren't surprised. These elements, of course, were derived because of the community sentiment that we were able to ascertain. I'm not going to go through each element in detail. I'm just going to show you what the basic goals of this plan are. You can read through it yourself. The goals are stated as kind of broad statements, and then the objectives kind of are ideas about how to implement or pursue those broad statements. So for housing, #1 goal was that Berrien County will be a home to a livable, safe, affordable housing stock that supports, you know, the development of equitable communities throughout the county and is compatible with the character of each city, village, and township. Berrien County communities will also enable housing development of a variety of types to ensure that all residents have access to a range of housing options. And second, or seasonal homes will be well maintained, appropriately regulated, and contribute positively to their communities. And then if you dig into the plan, you'll see the various objectives within those goals and how we suggest that could be implemented. For economic development, the #1 goal is that Berrien County will possess a comprehensive economic development identity that captures the unique assets for local communities, increases employment opportunities, encourages investments, with particular attention to revitalizing economically distressed communities. Goal number 2, this came from the suggestions of the Planning Commission itself, that we included a specific statement about agriculture and its importance to our community. So agriculture and agriculture related businesses will be vital, strong, and supported in Berrien County, and working farms will remain productive and located in large contiguous parcels to promote economies of scale. Natural features and land use goals. Remember, county doesn't have a zoning authority at all. All we can do is kind of gently persuade communities to maintain appropriate land uses and consistent and supportive land uses with their neighbors. So Berrien County will support and promote placemaking efforts that enable the development of the sense of place through the intentional pattern of development that reduces sprawl and preserves natural resources. Berrien County Community Development Department will serve as a local leader in researching and providing technical guidance, best practices, and available legislative direction, relevant case law, and other information for key planning and zoning topics, which is kind of what we do with our local partners anyway. I mean, we work very closely with them on these kind of matters. Goal number 3, through regular positive and productive dialogue, Berrien County will work as a partner with local governments to maintain up-to-date land use data, ensuring that regional land use and decisions are based upon reliable, up-to-date geographic information, which we do through our GIS system and other data resources. Community facilities, transportation, and infrastructure goals. Goal number 1 is that Berrien County will promote opportunities to use existing infrastructure capabilities or capacities and invest in the rehabilitation of sustainable systems before supporting the establishment of new services. The idea here is, let's take care of our water, sewer, wastewater, and other utility systems and roadway systems before we start talking about constructing new systems elsewhere. Berrien County will actively facilitate and support community collaboration at the county and local level, especially as it relates to creating efficient uses in local services that provide services to a broad range of citizens. Berrien County will work with regional local governments and other agencies to lead efforts to develop a well-connected, well-maintained, non-motorized transportation system that provides opportunities to support recreation. There's a specific reference here to the Berrien County Trails Master Plan that was just completed, and the Friends of Berrien County Trails efforts to develop that plan. Goal number 4, public transit in Berrien County will be reliable, cost-effective, and efficient, reaching communities across the county to create a functioning transit network, serving remote communities and populations in need. A difficult goal to achieve, I can tell you. Goal number 5, utilities in Berrien County communities such as potable water, sanitary sewer, and communication services. We're referring both the telephone and broadband services will be safe, efficient, and plentiful, and meet the needs of residents and businesses through collaborative and coordinated administration. This is, of course, an ongoing effort through our Board of Public Works on the one hand, our Drain Commissioner on one hand, and the BBIT team on the third hand, I guess. So we are now in phase 4 of this multi-year phase. The Planning Commission submitted this draft plan to the County Board of Commissioners in late September. And on October 20th, the board approved a resolution directing us to distribute the draft to the public and to invite public comments. We also distributed the plan per the statute to all utilities in Berrien County, as well as all neighboring counties, including St. Joe and LaPorte. Public comments were received by the Planning Commission through January 3rd of this year. We only received comments from 3 entities: Be Healthy Berrien, the Friends of Berrien County Trails, and the Southwest Regional Planning Commission. They were all productive comments. On January 10th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing per the statute to review these comments, and it then directed us, our department, to start incorporating these comments into a final draft plan, which we have done this week, and to submit it to the Board of Commissioners for final adoption. We will be submitting that to the Finance Committee on next Thursday, and it will include the comments received from these 3 entities. Some of them will be incorporated directly into the plan. Some of them will be included simply as an appendix to the plan where you can read more specific comments themselves. So that's where we are. I know it's an 88-page plan. It's difficult to summarize anything of that length, but it's been a 1.5 year long, almost a 2-year process to get this completed. And I think we're happy to have it in nearly final form and ready for you to approve 2 weeks from now. Happy to answer any questions.
Yes, for the entire plan, the 88 pages, I know it's hard to summarize, but what would you say is the most ambitious goal in our master plan?
I don't know if I can, you caught me off spot. I don't know if I can pick off a most ambitious goal. I think one of the most ambitious things that the county is doing right now, consistent with the goals of that plan, is trying to provide broadband services to the entire county. I mean, that is a huge, huge undertaking. That is a direct project being run by the county. But remember, these goals are not specifically directing this county commission to undertake these things. The attempt is to encourage all communities to try to work towards these goals. Just so happens with broadband that this is a county-led initiative.
Question?
As the commissioner that serves on the planning commission, I was part of the process. And the thing that I would say is, one, you'll remember in 2021, when we were doing the strategic for the newer commissioners, we were doing a strategic initiative as well. And so we did a community-led survey that were tie-barred to both the ARPA efforts and what was happening with the planning. And I would say that Katie Montoya, who's here, I saw you walk in the room, she actually helps with the planning commission, and she has gathered all of the information, all of the master plans from the municipalities that we had, that we have, and tried to incorporate what their goals and objectives were in the discussion as we worked through this, along with Williams and Works. And so this has been a long process, but our planning commission can take the input from local municipalities, their master plans, tie-bar it to what our objectives are here as a board and what we have as just the use of our land and our services, and try to put it into a guiding document. And that is what this is. It's helping us to guide ourselves in planning for land use and other purposes, but also it's a tool for our local municipalities to utilize to make certain that we're all moving the oars in the same direction as it relates to the county.
Do you have a question? Did you have something? Okay. Yes, Mike.
Terry, thank you for mentioning Katie. I really have to give her all the credit for this. I'm the one doing the presentation, but Katie is the one that basically administered this whole process over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Thank you. So many times I hear people say that was a good question, and that was a good question, Commissioner. Every one of them is important. When I looked at that, I had not thought much about it, but farms came to me, like what's happening with that? You know, do the children want to come back and take it over? Is it doing, are they doing well? Are they not? Just everything that we've said, housing and jobs and everything is important. Everything is number one. But I had poked her and said, BC Bennett, then you said it, because that's something we can see and we're actually doing and bringing in, and the communities are working with us on that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I ask a lot of questions, sorry. So this is a new thing for me as I'm reading through and learning about this process. We did a master plan, I would guess, before. And
Right.
Is there anything we learned from the master planning process before that we updated or brought into this new master planning process?
Well, the county is required to do this every 5 years. We try to hit that 5-year mark, but sometimes we're off by a year or two. The last master plan, to be honest, one of the problems with a master plan is that conditions in a community can change quickly. And then you find yourself not in alignment with where you thought your goals would be. And I think a good example would be the 2009 master plan that we adopted occurred right during the Great Recession. And some of the goals and objectives in that master plan simply became unachievable over a 5-year period because we were dealing with a very, very difficult economic time. So I don't want this to sound negative, but one of the things to be aware of is that this is, as Commissioner Freeling said, this is a broad document with broad goals. But on the ground conditions in our communities can change quickly, and we may find that these goals are no longer suitable for what we need. Or we may find that there are goals that we didn't think of that we should have thought of because of changed conditions. I mentioned housing as an example. Housing was not a prominent feature of the county's 2009 master plan. It is now because the conditions are such that it's become a problem for the community as a whole. In 2009, the last thing we were worried about was increasing housing costs. In fact, it was the opposite. So it's kind of a roundabout answer, but I guess my caution is that this is a guidance document, but it also has to be reflective of what we know is actually happening within our communities, and that can sometimes be changed very quickly.
Ma'am,
And to that point, the one thing that we talked about in the planning commission is putting with those goals in the document, some of the objectives that we'd like to see that we could help at the county level to kind of use as benchmarking to see that the plan doesn't just sit on a shelf, right? That it is something that we use as a guidepost. And that was something we purposefully worked through, which took a few extra meetings to kind of just discuss and whittle through. So I appreciate your question and thank you.
anyone else? Thank you,
Okay.
Dan.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, any public comments? Ma'am. Name and town, name and town.
Good morning, Melissa Clapper, St. Joe Charter Township, and I'm not sure you can actually answer this right now, but as always, I'm fascinated by the things that we don't know. But in kind of response to what Terry and everyone was saying, is there a piece in this plan that reviews the objectives? I know that it's countywide, and so you're talking 22 townships, 8 cities, 9 villages, but is there a way that you kind of review as you do the new master plan and what, like housing, and this is now important, how you meet some of these goals or how you assess, obviously things are different in each area, but is there like a general thing that you do? So that's, I know this, we're not supposed to just make statements, but in response to that. So.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? All right, does anyone have any other business? Well, let's say this one's a wrap, can break early and start your committees by 9:15 if that works out.